Hi, this is Matt Donegan from Challenger Stories. I'm here with Ben Cahill, who's the Managing Director and founder of CDC, a specialist engineering consultancy. So, Ben, what do you specialize in? What is it you guys do?
Afternoon, Matt. Yeah, so CDC was set up in 2014, and we provide specialist engineering services to a pretty wide range of projects across the built environment. So those services currently include fire engineering, obviously very topical at the moment, acoustic engineering, which is my background originally, building surveying, and a lot of the building surveying stuff is around the Building Safety Act and fire inspections, and also building physics, which has recently been added.
Building physics, that one I hadn't even heard of. So you've got me there. So you've developed the business. It's got this specialization in certain aspects of engineering for the built environment. Get that. I understand some of the practices that you've got there. Who do you do this for? Because there's a potential wide-ranging clients, but what's your kind of real sweet spot?
Yeah, so we're very broad actually in terms of client base and sectors. So we work with a wide range of clients. We always have done. So they include all the usual suspects really. So contractors, end users, developers, project management companies, engineering businesses, some FTSE 100 companies in there as well, some private individuals. So wide range of clients. I would say that is very helpful for us. So there's a wide range of clients in different scales of work within that. Within that also brings a wide range of sectors. So we have clients that specialize in sectors. So for example, we have some data center clients that are very big, and mainly 90% of the work is data centers. So that's a great relationship to have. We have a lot of residential developers, still makes up a large percentage of our workload. So yeah, that kind of breadth of client base really helps with our breadth of projects as well. Yeah, interesting projects for sure, but never two days the same, I would say.
I bet. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about, let's talk about the data centers in particular, because we've seen a lot of development of data centers globally, but in the UK, you see it you guys have got a real specialism with data centers. You do a lot of work in there. What are the challenges for that with working with? Is it the main contractor? Is it the designers? Who's your nailed on client for that?
Yeah, so it's obviously a very strong sector at the moment. Has been for many years, but only growing in the requirements for data centers across the UK, but across the globe. So our clients are all the above that you just mentioned. So we can work from the very early stages, which is kind of feasibility and planning. Those stages are very, very important and can be quite troublesome actually, because they're quite big buildings, quite big footprints. I'm very hungry on power requirements. So we work very early stages to support clients and end users with planning, and then really up to the construction of them. So with the contractors to deliver the projects. So a real good mix of those early stages and those later stages. But it's a good sector for us to be in. We've got some strong clients in that sector, quite future-proofed in terms of sector, which is great to see.
So interesting that you've got heavily involved in that sector and then you've got a real reputation for it. Was that by design? Did you sort of go out and say, right, as a business, if we nail this, then we'll get fantastic growth in the business?
Yeah, there's a strategic element to it for sure. But some of our clients also saw that opportunity and focused on that sector as well. So we're kind of reaping the rewards of their hard work in it as well, which is really great to see. But for us, it's definitely a strategic move as well, and we're trying to broaden it out to as many clients as possible. So a bit of both, really. We rely on our clients for some of that input, but there's also us doing a lot of that work behind the scenes.
I would imagine, and you can set the record straight here, that at this moment in time, it's quite a challenge in the industry, because we're seeing, because the Building Safety Act has come in, because of what's happened with some of the talent leaving the country over the last few years. Is this quite a challenging time for your industry?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I think since COVID, so COVID obviously was a big challenge, an existential crisis going on. But since then, this is the next biggest hit, really. I think last year, construction contracted overall in the economy. So that was a big hit last year. The year before there was growth. This year looks like growth, and next year going forward it looks like growth. So it's improving, but there are challenges there, many challenges, some of which you've outlined. Regulatory changes that are going on at the moment are causing some delays, which you'll be familiar with. There's also labour issues, I would say, that are causing issues, skills shortages. I think I read somewhere like there's a shortage of about 250,000 skilled people in the construction industry. So there's a lot of work there to be done. And generally the economy's kind of bumbling along like it does. And that doesn't really help the construction industry, to be honest. It needs a strong economy to drive growth. But there are definitely some positive in it as well. So infrastructure spend is going up, which is great. Some ambitious plans there. 1.5 million houses to be built in this election period. So there's lots of positives there for sure. But there's absolutely some headwinds that are going to trip it up along the way, no doubt.
I think we're living in a really, really volatile time. It's kind of exciting in certain parts of the construction industry because the guys who are good at it are doing pretty well. The challenge always seems to be around talent, whether that's skilled operatives on site with those skill sets or engineering nous and engineering brains. That seems to be where the big challenge comes from a lot of the industry currently. But you guys seem to be pretty much bucking that trend to a degree. I'm sure you've got challenges with retaining staff. Actually, with regards to that, you guys are very consistent. Obviously, we have spoken before, and you guys have got a thriving business. What do you find is the best aspects of recruiting and then retaining your top talent?
Yeah, so it's a challenge attracting people for sure at the moment, getting the right people with the right skills. As I said, there is a shortage in the country at the moment across the board, really, in all skill areas, all requirements. But we work very hard to bring the right people through the door that fit in with our culture, fit in with the company, fit in the skills with the skill sets we expect. So those things are very important. But it is very challenging. We offer very specialist services, as I mentioned earlier. So to find people in those specialist areas with the right skills, with the right culture fit, is always a challenge. What is easier for us, or we find easy, is retention. So we work very hard on culture and making sure that people are a good fit for the business. And with that, makes it much easier for us to retain people in the business. So we're quite strong at that bit. But the recruitment bit remains a challenge across the industry, it has to be said. For the reasons we outlined earlier, is making sure the right people come into the industry and there's the right people available. Upskilling people, starting at the apprentice levels or the education levels in school and universities and colleges. The numbers are not there yet at the moment. So there's not enough people coming into the industry. But hopefully, over the coming years, that will rectify itself. There's certainly more people needed. And that will help that recruitment bit, that attracting people into not only the industry but into our business.
Yeah, and in some ways, AI is helping your business on a few different levels, isn't it? Because AI's the march of AI is obviously fueling in part the number of data centers that are being created, and we're seeing created all around the country all the time at the moment. But not only that, it's because you have a high degree of knowledge workers in your business, then there is some that AI can assist your knowledge workers with on that level. More than the fact that it's a revenue stream for you. Are you utilizing it in the business?
So good question, Matt. You and I have talked about AI previously. I know you've got an interest in that area as well, as many people have. Traditionally, construction very slow to pick up on technology and the opportunities that provides. And that goes back, since, many decades. So AI presents a huge opportunity for every industry to improve their methods and the efficiency and the productivity of the businesses. We are all in on it. We've been talking about it for many years now. 2, 3, 4 years, we've been talking about the impact of AI on the construction industry and businesses. We are lucky enough to be working with the Turing Institute. I think you and I spoke about that previously. So that is a government-backed scheme where we're getting support with some super, super talented people in AI areas to really help us guide us on our journey a little bit, give us ideas, unblock problems for us. They don't provide the services in terms of building models for us, but they certainly help us with our ideas to bring them along and put us in touch with people that can help us deliver that. So we are working on various projects at the moment to implement into the business, and have been for a long time. Yeah. Everybody in the business is using AI, obviously regularly, like many people are, to solve day-to-day problems, improve things, improve efficiency, even down to just improving email writing and things like this. But the bigger picture for us is trying to solve those bigger problems that we've got and trying to do things much quicker overall and improve our methods and speed those up with AI. So that's the bigger picture there, and we're well down that road for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it absolutely fascinating that you're working with the Turing Institute. That's really, really forward thinking of you. There are not many businesses in the construction industry that I've spoken to that are really engaging with it. They're kind of turning a blind eye to it. Spoke to a professional consultancy. I won't say what kind of skill set they were, what area they work in, but when I challenged them saying, "You or how are you integrating AI?" And they said, "Well, it can't do what we do." Actually, it wasn't true, because what they do is they work on a different type of calculation from you guys, but it is a type of calculation. If I described it, it was knowledge based. And the thing that was very clear and obvious is the thing that they valued in their business was not the thing that their clients value. So their clients value the advice and support of someone who has the knowledge base. It wasn't the knowledge base per se. It was interpreting the knowledge base. That was the value. They thought just having the knowledge base was the value, but that's a database.
That's right.
And actually, interpretation, and also you can't leave AI just to run off on its own. Someone's got to police it. Someone's got to make sure that it's actually doing what it should be doing, as opposed to just providing an answer to a poor prompt. So, and I'm sure you guys are going to be instituting that in your business.
Yeah, that's right. It's making sure that those processes and policies are in place to manage that a bit of work and use of AI across the business. That governance, which we hear lots about now, never used to hear that about at all about AI governance, but it's a big thing. And we'll always have that human element. I think we've realized that some time ago. That human element will always be there. That skill set and that expertise of human beings will always be there, certainly for several decades yet. But having that supported and enhanced with the use of AI is where the sweet spot is for sure.
So it's really interesting that, the governance side of what you do, you have to have a human who's liable at the end of the day, don't you? We talk about government.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually,
Exactly.
What we're really talking about, let's not hide this. It's the liability. Who's made that decision? Who's provided that advice? It comes from AI, who has provided that advice. So
that's right.
It is liability. And of course, the Building Safety Act and the fact that you guys have got a real specialism in fire safety. I can't think of any other area of the construction industry that's under so much microscope since that terrible day a few years ago, since Grenfell. So obviously things really changed from that point onwards. The whole industry side started to shift. But look, let's come away from talking about some of the challenges across the industry. What have been the challenges since you've developed CDC? Because you've been going for more than a decade, right?
Yeah. So you go.
No. Please go ahead. You've been going for more than a decade. It's been a long journey. What made you start in the first place?
Good question. Yeah. So 2014 is when it was set up. Before that, I worked for a company called Atkins Realis now. And there I was lucky enough to work with some very talented people actually over the years. But I always had this idea of setting up a specialist consultancy that offered very niche services, which was similar to the areas I worked in at Atkins. So in 2014, after a lot of thought about it, and I think I've always had the kind of idea to do it, but that just got stronger as the years went on. And then 2014, it happened. Obviously, it's always a bit of a cliff edge to set up a business on your own, but never looked back, really. I think initially those early days were quite good to me, I would say. We got some lucky breaks, and it's part luck, part hard work in those early days. And it went from there, really. I started very humble beginnings. One acoustic engineer, one fire engineer supporting, and it went from there. And if we go back those 10 years ago, I often tell the story, but fire engineers were really not in demand. There really was a tough sell to sell fire engineering into projects, which is, unthinkable now. So it has changed a lot over those 10, 11 years for sure. But yeah, so as anybody who's started up a business, you'll understand, Matt, it's very hard work to start with. A
Yeah.
lot of hours, not much sleep. Pressure, yes, not always, but a lot of pressure at times. And then it goes from there. And like I say, to say a lot, there's not a lot of luck in that. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't luck in that, because there certainly is. But it's a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work in those early days.
Ben, there's an expression by Gary Player, and that was, it's really funny. The harder and harder I practice, the more and more lucky I get. You do
My golf game's not good, so I don't know about that.
well, maybe 10,000 hours of practice might do it. Or maybe in the case of
Maybe,
running a business,
maybe.
it's about, it's about opening your mind. It's about keeping your eyes open. It's about having honesty and integrity with yourself as well as the other people around you.
Mm, mm,
Because there's a very interesting fact. If you have a business for more than 10 years, that business is liable to last for at least another 10 years. It kind of doubles when it gets to the 10-year.
mm,
So businesses tend to become quite robust by that stage. And, you build a management team that can help support the founder. Because one thing is for absolutely certain, when you first start a business, you make that decision that you want to be the last guy that's paid. You want to be the last person to get a raise. You want to be the last person to get any thanks and the first person that anybody comes to with a problem. So
yeah.
what made you do that? Because Brian, you said when you started the business and there was that kind of opportunity, but what made you think, do you know what, I can do this?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I think I didn't think that I wouldn't be able to do it, to be honest. I was never a thought, oh, this is going to fail, or there's obviously a risk and a plan B. Those early stage, we're 2 young kids, so that obviously affects it as well. Um, but yeah, I just always assumed it would go okay. I mean, maybe stupidity, naivety, probably. Yeah, but from day one, we
Yeah.
picked up some great clients. That obviously helps alleviate the burden a little bit, and it ran from there. Really,
Mm.
it ran from there. But yeah,
So
I guess
outside of the obvious ones, and the obvious ones here would be so Brexit has impacted the industry.
Mhm.
Obviously, COVID did. We've had Ukraine, we've had the cost of living crisis. There've been a
Mhm.
number of kind of what you'd
Mhm.
ordinarily call black swan events
Yeah,
that you get once every decade or 2 decades. And actually, we've had a load of them back to back. It's been, rocky road, right? The construction industry, you're quite right. It's got headwinds. It's got huge potential for growth over the next 5 to 10 years with development infrastructure, as you say. What's been the biggest challenge for you?
over the 10 years.
Mm.
Oh, I would have, well, you've just named them really. I think COVID was a bit of a shocker, came out of the blue. And we actually went quite early with COVID and sent people home before the government said to send people home. So we were quite cautious there, I would say. But I remember sending the email around. I think I've still got it somewhere. Send the email around saying, okay, well, I'm going to send everyone home early. We all work from home. These policies and process. It was quite agile at that stage anyway. We were always been very flexible working, even pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So really, everyone had laptops. So we had communication tools. We used Slack at the time. So communication tools were there in terms of being able to contact each other. Aside from mobiles. So everything was there and everyone had a laptop. So everyone was really able to just start from working from home the next day. This is about 2 or 3 weeks before the government called it. And I remember saying in that email that, okay, I think this will probably be done. We'll be home for 4 weeks and then that'll be done. We'll be back in the office. So don't get too comfortable at home.
Yeah,
But I
16 months.
remember, that a bit optimistic. So it's great to be, sending everyone home early, which is good to be cautious. I guess a little bit overly cautious, but also overly optimistic on the front of we'd be back in 4 weeks. So yeah, it's a strange time, definitely a risky, and nobody knew what was going to happen, did they? We was having, full body scans before we went onto site to inspect sites, full body scans to get thermal testing for heat or temperature. So yeah, definitely challenges, and everything was a big risk assessment whenever we left the house to go and look at a site. Yeah, challenging times.
Yeah.
There was the insurance. If you remember the insurance issues that happened about 3-4 years ago now, where insurance rates, particularly for fire engineering companies, absolutely rocketed. So that was another bit of a shock to the system, it has to be said.
Yeah. So there's those kind of black swan events, and then there's kind of everyday building a business. In terms of the everyday building the business, the challenges along the way there, what's kind of kept you up at night the most with developing a business, kind of steady state?
Yeah, so The usual ones are, I think, making sure people are safe on site is a big one for the business overall and for the industry. Making sure that our staff, when they go to site, sometimes on sociable hours, sometimes through the night, sometimes lots of travelling, making sure that they're all safe and the appropriate risk assessment's been undertaken and they know what to do should anything happen. So that bit doesn't keep me awake, but it's a big thing for the business to understand and make sure it's mitigated. So what else was I just thinking about?
So often businesses have challenges around time, team, and money. So time, what do you focus your time on? Have you got enough time? Because that's the one resource you cannot get any more on.
Yeah.
Team, developing a team, systems, processes, getting them to the top performance that you possibly can do, hiring on culture like you do, hiring on values like you do, and then money. At the end of the day, how the business is generating a profit, because that's what business is there to do. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned as a business owner?
So I think you hit the nail on the head with the payment issues. Construction industry still has a massive payment issue. Big companies, small companies, they all seem to have problems with paying people on time within 30 days. I noticed the government are bringing in a new not a law, but something around if companies are not paying on time, they won't be eligible for government contracts, which is a good thing because they've brought stuff in before, and as companies committing to achieve 30 days, they're not achieving 30 days. So I think, and there's a pressure, particularly on small businesses. There's a huge pressure on small businesses and SMEs. So that remains a challenge in the industry. It was when I started 10 years ago, it remains a challenge today, 10, 11 years later. In terms of lessons along the way, that's another podcast maybe. That could be another hour of discussions. There's been a lot, but I think, as the numbers of people joining the business change, my style has to change. We have to have people managing different parts of the business and looking after different teams. Yeah. And I think getting that right at the right time is really key, and bringing the right people in at the right time is really key. So yeah, it's not necessarily a lesson, but I think it's something I've learned along the way in terms of how important that is. Yeah. How important that is. And you need good people in different roles to be able to make the business function to a high level.
I guess I speak to a lot of business owners. One of the things that often comes up, particularly ones that have been running a decade or more, what got you there won't get you there. So that means the people, the systems, the processes, sometimes the customers. So it's an understanding about actually steady state is if you're steady, you're not growing. If you're not growing, effectively, business is going to die. So it's taken on those practices. Has been embracing kind of management and leadership practices and skills in your business. Has that been one of the things that's fueled the growth?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, like I said, bringing the right people in with that in mind. We've got some hugely experienced people in the business, both technically and kind of operationally and leadership management wise. And those guys were brought in quite early to try and, set it on that path for when we get bigger. And I think, they're getting that skill set in the business as early as possible. They understand that is really useful. Also, people coming through to have future roles in that area and making sure they're trained up and educated and encouraged to take up those roles as well. So it is a constantly moving thing, as you know. The technical aspects of the business and competence is really key at the moment in the business. So there's all that technical training going on as well as management and leadership. So there's a lot going on at the same time. A lot of moving parts at the moment, for sure.
Absolutely. And you've got every right to be proud of developing a thriving business in a growing industry.
Thank you.
The sectors that you're working in a group, they're growing as well. So you've got a growing client base. You've got some fantastic clients. You're doing some great work in the right sector. Really good, stable ground. So it's quite inspiring.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, well, you're welcome, and it's true. It's quite inspiring actually when you hear someone who's sort of started a business, not really started it without a clear kind of this is why I'm going to do this. It was done through a professional attitude, and then develop the business. So, has anybody on the way in your journey and your entrepreneurial journey, has anybody inspired you?
A good question. Apart from yourself, Matt, obviously. Yes, of course, as you go through your career in construction now for 20, 25 years. So as you go through your career, you work with people that you don't necessarily know they're mentoring you at the time, but they're clearly mentoring you and you're picking stuff up from them all the time. There's been a number of people, probably too many people to mention by name now, but there's team managers, obviously, that you report to, that you see them displaying the behaviours that you think you'd like to take into a position if you had that in the future. There's technical, super talented technical people that are really, really way above the level of talent that I've got in engineering and architecture and design. Just really, really talented people, naturally talented people. And you take bits and pieces from all these people. I think, okay, that's really good. That bit's really good. That bit, I'll just nick all that. And you take it into your own future, really. So some of those guys are still working, still got really, really accomplished careers. Some of them have passed away in the meantime, unfortunately, but, we take those memories of working them with us and the things we learned from them. Yeah, just really good people. I think construction is one of those industries that has just got lots and lots of people that are really, really talented. It's one of those industries that people work for a long time. You can work well into your, 60s, potentially 70s as well. You just build more and more knowledge and experience and more used to the industry overall. So, and with that, just has loads of really talented people to learn from, literally learn from. I speak to some people, go into a meeting somewhere and you get talking to them about something else completely different. It's just like, just like, how do you know all this stuff? How are you that good at your job? Yeah, just really talented people. But there's a number of people in my personal regard along the way through my career that I've learned tons from, absolutely tons, and made me really, the professional person I am today, if you like.
It does sound like that what you've done though, Ben, is you've been in a state of constant learning. So just by learning and engaging with those people, in being coached by them, because that's effectively what a lot of those guys would have been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we are there's this expression, a self-made man. I think that's complete rubbish, because we are made by the people that we've engaged with. They've informed us, either negatively or positively, by the way, to act in a certain way. No one's self-made. We are a product of our environment, and you've entered the right environment, and you've looked for the right environment as well, because this hasn't happened by accident. Yeah, that's such a powerful thing. So if you're going to go back,
Yeah, absolutely.
if you're going to start the business again tomorrow,
yeah,
what would you do differently?
Yeah, you mentioned this earlier, and I gave it a little bit of thought. I don't think I'd do anything differently, to be honest. I think there's unique challenges that you came up with earlier, events in the world that just completely, blindside you, really. That I would have preferred not to have had to deal with. I'm sure everybody would say that in any industry. But I don't think I'd do anything differently. It is what it is. It's not always been perfect or great, but it's always been hard work. But it is what it is. And I think I'd tread the same path. I think I maybe learn some new things along the way, but yeah, I don't think I'd do anything that differently.
I often speak to businesses and they say, that there might have been that sliding door moment when they would have made a different decision about something. But one thing I hear constantly, and you've just reinforced that, is a lack of regret.
Yeah.
When you've had a business for 10 years or more, the regrets have subsided somewhat.
Yeah, I think even those, obviously, there's stuff you regret and decisions you think you would have made otherwise with more information or on another day. But it gets you to a place, doesn't it? It gets you to another place you wouldn't have been anyway, sometimes. And that's never been a terrible place. It's always been something that's manageable and workable, and you just take a different route. So I think that's pretty much it, really.
Okay. Well, look, Ben, thank you so much for sharing your journey with me.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate your time.
It's been a pleasure. CDC, going from strength to strength, it's a fact. If you're looking at a data center right now, you need to be speaking to you guys. And look, you're in a quite challenging industry. The Building Safety Act has created ripples in the industry, and now you guys are very much at the front of that. So look, there's a lot of challenge around that. I'm absolutely certain you're going to rise to that challenge. So Ben Cahill from CDC, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for your time. I appreciate that.